to the May 5th, 2015 Town Work Session for the Town of Ossining. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening. So our first item on our agenda tonight is the accessory apartment law changes, which we have been working on for the last couple of months, but on and off. So we'd like to welcome John Hamilton, our building inspector, to come up and talk about some of the recommended changes. We want to emphasize that these accessory apartment changes have to do with inspections, maintaining the accessory apartment, and at last resort eviction from the accessory apartment. It has nothing to do with changing the location of accessory apartments to outside of the existing main building, which is what our code reads.
Revocation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Revocation. Sorry, wrong word. Terribly wrong word, but Mr. Hamilton.
Push up.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. At the last meeting, the board had asked if I could look at the law that Wayne gave us for Huntington and just see if there was anything that might be of interest to us. So I sent in a memorandum with some sections that possibly could be useful for us, for the board to take a look at. Might be a little redundant in some areas, but I thought we could take a look at this, and at the next time we meet, the board could decide if any of this was something they'd like to use, and we could go forth from there.
Okay. Do I go over with those items?
Well, what this is doing is establishing certain criteria that the board would use. I like the fact that this here indicates that the zoning board does not have to just follow the zoning code when they're looking at someone who's applying for the accessory apartment. They can look at all mitigating factors. I like that what I had in here is that certain sections where they have to make sure there's no front door, that they have to have an impervious parking area as opposed to them throwing down item 4, that it has to still look like a single-family residence, all utilities have to be kept out of sight, just various items like that. And then it did have the ability for the zoning board then, if there was justification, to hold a hearing to possibly revoke the permit if we have issues with the location. They have to certify to us certain criteria that they're going to live there, owner occupied, that they're only using one, they don't have anywhere else. So there's various aspects in that, and again, that the zoning board does have the right then to revoke this for just cause. So that's kind of like in a nutshell what some of these sections are showing.
So are we, Council, are we looking to completely rewrite ours, or are we looking just to plant some of these items inside of ours?
No, we're looking to supplement what we have right now and perhaps create a little bit more, I don't know, oversight than currently exists for existing situations that arose, where there may have been some issues, and so addressing the ability of the building inspector to step in those situations. It's really, I think, the key of when we had a discussion a few weeks ago.
The document that we gave to the board to review for tonight is actually the same document that you had prepared for us earlier. Not the memo. The memo is new, where you had redlined the chapter of the code. And I just wanted to make sure that we were clear, because it has been a couple weeks since we've discussed it. The one thing that the board said that they were not interested in pursuing that you had written in here was the part about the zoning board being the authority over the revocation. Am I correct? Or the other end of it was
no, I think what the board wanted was they did not want this section of the law moved into the zoning code.
Okay.
We agreed that the zoning board still issues it.
Okay.
And I think we agreed that the zoning board would then be the revocation authority as well. That was the only thing not to put it in the zoning code.
The issue is that by this section being a separate section and not part of the zoning code itself, there's no opportunity for the zoning board to issue a variance for any, if it's dimensional or something along those lines, like let's say a smaller unit than would otherwise be allowed as a separate section. The provisions as far as size and other aspects of an accessory apartment have to be followed. And there's no opportunity for to vary those provisions. That's the reason why.
Well, it's very strict on the size of the apartment, and we were looking to possibly, but I think we need to get past this point, and then we can readdress it so that we can
Right.
look at the size versus, but I think this is a big step that we put people on. One of the most important things was that there would be yearly inspections instead of once every 3 years.
Correct.
That is one of the biggest, the most important changes for the residents, for the person that's occupying the accessory apartment, and for the neighbors. So that's very important. Do you have any more? Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
How many accessory dwelling units do we currently have?
We have less than 25.
Really?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have less than 25. I actually have an application that came in today as well, which was an illegal apartment that's now going to become a legalized accessory, subject to provisions.
It's in the main building.
Yes,
So we're talking about a ZBA matter.
yes, that'll go to the zoning board after he corrected his violations, and now he has a building permit before him.
Have you gotten any reaction? I know there was a couple, and the reason I spoke a little bit at the beginning, there was a couple of people here that actually, at one of our meetings that we had, and they actually own buildings with accessory apartments, and they were concerned as to what was in it, and that's part of the reason that we talked a little bit about, about what, the outbuilding versus the inbuilt, inside the main dwelling and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think it's important for them to realize that the law that we want to amend will not hurt them in any way, as long as they're good landlords.
Exactly.
The changes we're making are for the problematic areas. The average landlord will have absolutely nothing to do with these changes. It's only the ones which this necessitated us coming before you when we had an incident. The average one, it won't bother them at all.
You got any questions?
No.
Any more?
No.
So what I'd like to do is parlay these changes into our current law, make sure the verbiage is right and everything. I'm sorry, my mic is terrible tonight.
Too close to
Hello?
the way.
It's not the library.
Too close to it.
I know. Is that better?
Yeah.
Look at Matt's leaving us. So anyway, I know. So anyway, what we're going to do now is put the law. You can't hear us? So I was talking into this one. Hello, hello, hello. Okay.
That's good.
That's good? Okay. I can talk loud enough for the room, yeah. All right, so let's put the law together, and let's look at no later than the beginning of June to call for a public hearing on it. It will be done our other public hearings, because we have a few public hearings coming up, one cabaret license, one on a community choice aggregation, which we don't actually need a public hearing on, but we're going to do one, and one for, yes, sir.
Does the board want to look these suggestions over first?
Well, we've had them, so it's,
Well,
yeah.
on this memorandum that I submitted to you, I don't know if
Okay.
you want to look at that prior to the public hearing.
Okay, so we're not talking about till June, so we can talk about, it's the beginning of May.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can talk about it again in May if any board member has, we're only going to call for the public hearing at the beginning of
That's
June.
fine.
So let's do that. Let's see if anybody has any questions. We have a couple of board members missing tonight, too. They had other obligations. What we'll do is we will see if they have any questions about anything. We'll put it together so that they can read it as a whole law then, which sometimes makes it easier. And then what we'll do is, if we need you back again sometime in May, we'll do that. And then other than that, we will call for the public hearing in June for this part of the
Right.
accessory apartment.
Correct.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Cool.
You don't have to leave now. You can stay.
I don't want to
Tell everyone that. Okay, I lost my agenda. Can you grab me that agenda? Thanks. My papers are too big today. All right, great. Okay, so Heather, do you want to come up and join us and see if we have any questions? I saw Tom here before. Paul Fraioli is not available. Maybe you could text Tom and see if he can come down. Oh, he's coming now. Okay. So we asked you to come back. Thank you, Heather, for coming back again. I know you made your presentation at our regular board meeting last week. Come on, Tom. We're already. Feel free to join us up here.
Come sit with me.
Yes. So thank you for coming back, Heather. We wanted to have the opportunity to have Tom with us, Tom Warren, our comptroller, with us, so we could talk about, see if the board had any more questions on the LED lighting. Just to review for the public, we have an IMA with the Village of Ossining. They had done a lot of research with Lumen Light Solutions, and we actually had a second bidder come in the town, which we decided not to pursue. And so since we have an IMA with the village anyway to do our this is all about street lighting, by the way. So we want to talk about the finance part of it a little bit, and we want to answer a couple of questions. I want to give you the first question. I believe I forwarded you this email too. The gentleman was referring to the fact that he has a condo somewhere else, and their parking lot went LED lighting. The LED lighting cost them $200,000. They're supposed to save $200,000. I'm not quite sure how that happens. That's such a big savings, but again, I need you to tell us if it's the difference, as I suggested to you, about municipal pricing being different from residential or commercial pricing.
Correct, yes it is. In most of your parking garages are privately owned.
Right.
And when they're privately owned, they pay the regular rates that Con Ed and the whatever electrical service they're using charge. So municipal garages and municipalities benefit from getting a reduced delivery charge by Con Ed, as well as a municipal rate for the power that you're paying, since it's generated by NIPA. So that does attribute for some of the energy savings differential.
Right. Right?
In your analysis that you did of current lighting fixtures, I guess my question would be, how many fixtures are there?
Well, we have the proposal.
How many fixtures are there? There's going to be, currently in your streets.
And is there public parking versus private parking in the unincorporated area, which is the area for which we are responsible?
Right. The database that was sent to us, you're billed for street lighting, based on a Con Ed database, and you're based on rated watts. Garages will also be metered as opposed to street lighting, which is rated watts, because it goes on when the sun sets and comes back off when the sun rises. So typically most streets you find have either, if for a high pressure sodium, you'll find a 100 watt, 150 watt, 250 and 400 watt. That light the streets based on the size of the street. So you'll end up with some municipalities use a 70 watt when they have small rural streets that do not require a lot of lighting because they're very narrow. And so you'll get 4 or 5 fixtures. Some municipalities have more than that for a variety of reasons. But the inclination is to standardize them to those sort of 5, if you will, wattages. And these fixtures match each of those. The way we do that is we actually compare the level of lighting from the LED with the level of lighting of the existing street light and match that level of lighting, unless for some reason somebody says to increase or decrease the lighting on that roadway.
Which is done as part of the inventory when you do the
Correct,
audit.
which is done as part of the inventory, correct.
But I think and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but I think where Jeff was coming from a little bit was the number of lights that you have for the unincorporated area. You know.
Oh, 348 lights is
Are
about,
any- are
what
any
we
of
have,
those
373,
lights-
sorry.
Are any of those lights?
In parking garages?
commercial or in a public place?
Well, they're all in public.
They're all street lights. They're your street lights lighting your streets.
Oh, they're all, okay.
So it's
Right.
not like
So
they're
it's
going
not
into a
indoor.
condo.
But we don't have any indoor garages in
Right.
the unincorporated area, am I correct?
Not that are in this database.
Okay,
No, and we don't have any anyway, so.
okay.
But it does, in the database, as long as the streetlights go into the parks, you know, and again, we spoke last time about
Right.
the fact that we'll look at later the
Correct.
ball field lights, which are extremely expensive to keep on
Right.
at night and
In-
stuff, you know, the ones that flood the fields for the games, right?
Paul had worked with us to include an allowance for inventorying all of those and determining what could be done with them to reduce your energy cost for them, and giving you a proposal or in numbers for those at that time. That we survey them and know exactly what you have, exactly how large an area they're lighting, and what we can match to them, and how they can reduce your energy cost. Because there are LED equivalents for those. It's just sometimes they're Cobra heads, sometimes they're what's referred to as shoeboxes. They look literally like a shoebox. So they're referred to as shoebox lights. But there are LED equivalents for those that would greatly benefit you.
All right?
Okay.
Okay, Tom. Financing.
Okay, good evening Supervisor and members of the board, town board. Is this mic on?
Yes.
Okay. I was not at the legislative meeting last week, which I understand a presentation was made. And Heather, I believe you talked about the items that your company offers if the town were to accept the financing. Mm-hmm. You went over that.
Correct.
Okay. So that's what it really comes down to is whether or not you would wish to accept the financing that Lumen Light Solutions offers in exchange for the additional items that they provide after the installation of the lights. And as you know, the village opted to go with their financing, but as I understand it from the proposal, you don't have to. It's a question of whether or not the town wishes to utilize the extra services, which is almost like a service contract after the fact. Is that a good way to describe it?
In essence.
Okay.
It's largely because the way the financing is set up is as a lease, using the New York State energy law. So in essence, we're leasing the lights to you, so we're aiding you with maintaining them.
And one of the items was the inventory, you know, the Con Ed inventory, but you are up to speed on the Con Ed inventory at the point where you go live with these lights.
Right. What typically happens is when we're live, you're fully reconciled. So what's in the field matches what's in your database.
Right.
Then over time, a truck hits a light, you replace a light with an inventory you have, or somebody wants more lights on a cul-de-sac or whatever. As you install or move forward with those lights, in a lease scenario, you'd benefit from reduced pricing for the lights that you're adding or replacing, and we would assist you with those needs. In the non-lease scenario, then the price per fixture ends up being different based on how many lights you need at the time, and the best quote we're able to get from the manufacturers at that time.
Okay, so this afternoon, I talked to Heather, and she actually sent me an updated proposal that actually reduced the amount of the financing. The cost of the project is less than $187,000, and over 5 years, the anticipated savings annually is about $41,600, and the payment by the town would be $42,000 under their financing. So it's almost a wash over
Well,
5 years.
that's part of the point, is that it's what you save, and it's
Correct.
why you.
And then they offered a 7-year proposal that with the same annual savings of $41,600, the payment by the town would be $32,000. But, you know, I'll focus on the 5-year, since that's almost a wash. The additional money paid by the town over the 5 years is about $23,000 for the financing in exchange for the additional services that they provided. I mean, as you know, the town board had approved a bond resolution. You know, if that was the way that the town wished to go, that the town would issue the serial bond or bond anticipation note, since it can be issued for up to 5 years, and finance it that way. You would also have to provide start providing the money as you go along, versus here where, you know, you're paying it back through the savings. And with a bond payment of estimated of about 2% for 5 years, it would be the total payment by the town for the financing would be about $198,000, which would be about $12,000 in total over the 5 years. So that's the analysis that I have. And one of the other things that benefits the town, because we're going to the bond market this year, and we're going to be issuing our second installment on the assessment reval project. And the way that bond resolution was written was that the town would be going to the bond market for 3 years as the project proceeds. And that way, every time the town issues a new bond amount, the clock starts ticking for payment of the bond back. And with a reval project, the local finance law provides that you have to pay back the money that you borrow over 5 years, which is a very large amount, because the total project was $1.8 million.
Right.
And the first year we issued bonds of $1 million, and then the next 2 years, this year being the second year, would be $400,000. And with the way the bond issues go, when you group projects together, you can average out the useful life. And so for the first year, we're actually able to average out the life of the reval to 12 years, because there were other projects that had longer life, like it included a water main project, which had a 40-year life and such. And this year, we're looking at the LED lighting has a 10-year life under the local finance law, and the spray park recirculation pump has a 15-year life. So if the town were to take these 3 projects, and I'm not sure if we're going to be ready to issue bonds for the Old Albany Post Road portion that the town has. I believe that was a 10-year life, possibly 15. But, you know, with these higher average periods of probable usefulness, that would help increase the time period to pay back the reval bond. This year, $400,000. I don't have an exact number, but it might be 8 years, possibly 9 years, which would help out the general fund in making the bond payments.
You understand what he's saying, too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty clear.
Yeah. No, it's very, it's well said, but,
What would your recommendation be,
Right.
Tom, with regard to how to finance this at the lowest possible level,
with the most, with the most.
but recognizing, you know, the needs of that specific,
Okay, well, this is going to, assume that you're going to not go with the extras that Lumen Light Solutions offers after the installation. They're not going to maintain the inventory. They're not going to be guaranteeing the savings and things like that. The town is going to be on their own, which I'm not sure that that's really necessarily a bad thing. We've been on our own all these years for our inventory of street lighting as it is. You just walk away from the project with an updated inventory, and being up to date, it might be easier to maintain going forward. But I think that issuing the bond will help out the town the most in terms of trying to extend the life for having to pay back the reval. It's a very large bond to be paid back over a very short period of time, 5 years. But we're able to extend the life last year to 12 years, and this year, on the $400,000 component, we might be able to extend that out over 8 years. Where you are able to stretch it out for one purpose, you have to reduce it in another purpose. And like that would mean that the LED lighting, which has a 10-year life, would be 8 years. If you combine everything together and average everything out. The circulation pump at the spray park would be reduced from 15 years down to 8, if 8 years was what the average turns out to be. I was waiting for a definitive answer from our fiscal advisor to tell me what it would be, but it looks like it would be advantageous to be able to stretch out the bond payments on the assessment reval project.
I had when you finish?
Go ahead, yeah.
A couple of questions. I'm not clear on what the additional services are. I'd like a little clarification. What does that mean? What are you giving
Okay.
as additional?
During the lease period, once the fixtures are all installed, should a light go out for any reason that appears to be a warranty repair, just has gone out suddenly without any reason, we would facilitate the warranty repair for you. So you will give us your fixture, we'll give you one out of our stock, and you'll have your fixture while we get the warranty effectuated. But you will not be out of fixture.
But you will replace the fixture.
Correct. In the event that, so you're getting an immediate fixture out of our stock. That might be my phone, I apologize. You're getting an immediate replacement out of our stock rather than having to wait for the warranty repair to come back. Without us, you would contact the manufacturer's rep, send them the fixture back. They would then get you a fixture back when Philips has received your fixture, sent you back one, or evaluated whether or not it was a warranty issue. Should a fixture get knocked down or damaged by a storm, in that instance, the price that we offer you for the fixtures is the price you're paying today, as opposed to the price you'd go to the market, or you'd call us up and say, hey, we need 5 fixtures or 10 fixtures. That'll be based on the best price we can get from the manufacturer at the time for that quantity of fixtures. Which, as a designated distributor, we might be able to get a better price than some of the other distributors that mark them up by 40 or 50%. The other thing is coordinating any changes to your Con Ed database moving forward. If you change any of the fixtures, add streets, increase or decrease lighting in a street, we'll continue to monitor and maintain your Con Ed database for you to make sure there's no changes that somehow crazily appear, or any changes you want made, we will make for you. And then the last item is that we will guarantee your savings. Once we have completed the audit and we know exactly what's out there in the field, and we come to you with this is how many kilowatts you are going to save, we guarantee that number. And the value of that number at today's power rate at the time of the audit. And you will save that amount of money. If you, for some reason, it goes down, then we will make up the difference. Any excess is yours.
Okay, now, if you had to put in other lighting, other poles, whatever, who does that? Who puts up the poles for the new additional lighting?
If you had a street that wanted to add lighting or increase their level of lighting, that would be the circumstance. Typically, they're on utility poles, so the utility poles would already be there, or some a new cul-de-sac, or a cul-de-sac that doesn't currently have lighting on it adds lighting to their cul-de-sac. You could add the fixtures through that. You certainly could. We would not include it in the price as not installing poles. But it is providing you with the fixtures at a low rate that you're probably not going to see again in the marketplace for a while.
Okay, that's
Well, as I spoke to Heather about this too, and we are the smallest part of a major project that they're doing in town. and understanding that there are reasons that we want to go to the bond market to do this, which is above and beyond, way above and beyond the LED project. We could actually sit down maybe and talk
Yes.
about something of a support contract with some of the savings that we have, that we already have. We run this like a business, that's all, and I think that I would go for going with not using your financing at this point. We need that extra savings to stretch out our reval bond. What do you think, sir?
From what I can understand, I don't understand all of it,
Yeah.
I have to tell you that with the figures, that's why you got him.
Exactly.
But if I think if it helps the town with the what he just told us, then that's the way we should try to go, I think.
And
I
you,
would
sir?
agree with that.
Yeah. So we were just, hi Eric, how are you? We were just talking about the financing and we'll just do a complete short recap for you. And correct me if I say anything incorrect, Comptroller Warren. So we were talking about the financing for the LED lighting, and the choice is to go with the program. We read over what the advantages are. But on the other side, we need to extend out our bonds for the reassessment. And so this helps us extend it out for this particular year from 5 years to 8 years of payback for this year's bonds. And it's a savings in percentage rates that we can sit down and Heather's excellent in understanding that we are as the unincorporated area, because that's really the only part we're responsible for this LED lighting project. That we're the smallest part of this whole project, because the village being the biggest part, the village of Ossining, not the village of Barcliff Manor. So we would just talk, Tom was giving us the different options, and so far we think that we should do it through bonding rather than through the finance program of that.
Yeah, that seemed to make sense when we. Right, that seemed to make sense. And I'm sorry I missed the presentation, Tom, but it seemed to be a good way to head from the last time we were talking about it at the legislative meeting.
Yeah. So if that's okay with you, I think we want to talk, I'm pretty much ready to piggyback on the back of, and we're going to help you by piggybacking on the back of the
Correct.
of the Village of Ossining package, which helps them, because once they mobilize, they're mobilizing for the entire area.
Right.
Am I correct on that?
Correct.
Yeah. And Heather's willing to sit down with us and talk to us about like possible options of some limited maintenance support contract for. Yeah. Okay. Tom, anything else you'd like to add to this? Okay, so I think we're pretty much ready to move on with the LED lighting. Wasn't that hard? Everybody thought it was going to be hard on you, but it wasn't. We did have a couple of questions, though,
Correct.
right? Can you address some of those questions that came up? It was more about the dark sky.
Right. The dark sky, just so everybody's clear, is how much light the fixtures emit above. A lot of people think that it's how much that when you look up whether or not you see stars, and yes, that's part of it. But generally, it's when you fly overhead, is there light that goes up into the sky, and that's considered wasted light. And by all energy aficionados and people who are concerned about wasting energy into the environment, that does waste light. So the fixtures that we are proposing, that are the ones that New Rochelle and you're piggybacking on, along with the village, are dark sky compliant, 100% dark sky compliant. So when you fly overhead, what you would see is city streets nightly lighted up. You won't see a glow going up into the sky.
Which you do.
You'll
see
just see
when
city
you're on
streets.
a regular Cobra heads. You do
Right.
see that. Yeah.
When you fly overhead you see cobra heads, you see like this little orange glow, and you'll see the streets, but you see like this little orange cloud above, and that you won't see. So you won't see any cloud above the lights. That's the 100% dark sky compliant. The other question, again, was on the color of lighting.
Right.
And some issues that had arisen in particularly New York City and some areas on the West Coast with regard to the brightness of the light. And speaking as someone who attempted to bid on the New York City contracts, and was unsuccessful. The city took a different approach than what the city of New York, meaning than the city of Yonkers, and some of the other municipalities in the area. What New Rochelle and Yonkers and Elmsford have done is want a one-for-one lighting replacement that meets or beats the level of lighting of what you currently have. So in the city of Yonkers, when they installed all of their lights, we had no complaints over the level of light, no complaints over the color of light. There were occasionally some people who said, hey, your light no longer lights my front yard or my driveway, but us as a government entity aren't responsible for lighting my driveway. My municipality is responsible for lighting my street. If I want my driveway lit, I need to go light it. So we had a couple of issues with that, but the biggest complaint we had is, why haven't you done my street yet? We want you to get here first.
I got to tell
come
you,
here
I
next.
have that because I don't know how old my Cobra head is on my street, but it's not very bright.
So that was the largest call into the city of Yonkers. But you will see, so in the city of New York, they did not choose this one-for-one street lighting replacement meeting or beating. They basically said, we have these fixtures on these streets, we want you to go install these fixtures on these streets, and they spec'd out how they wanted it. So as a result, they have fixtures from, I think, 3 or 4 different manufacturers to date. So when you're talking a city that has 500,000 fixtures, they've got 100,000 of this, 100,000 of that, 100,000 of something else. And they're looking at different options all the time. So their inventory management is going to be much more complex and complicated than what it is for the city of Yonkers, the city of New Rochelle, which have 11,000 and 7,000 fixtures. And granted, you have 378. So the complexity of managing that
What does the
inventory.
village have, do you remember?
1,200.
Okay.
But they're all the same, from the same
They're all the same manufacturer.
manufacturer.
Therefore, wattages, you can have a very simple inventory, and it makes it very easy to manage.
And New York City has 3 or 4?
New York City has 3 or 4 different manufacturers that they're installing, yeah.
That must be fun.
And as a result, they've had complaints over the level of lights in neighborhoods because they went, oh, we think we've got 100 watts there, go and throw these up. We think we have this here, go throw it up. And they never really did an inventory and an assessment and all of that phase going in because they didn't think that they needed it at the time. And I think maybe they're learning some lessons out of the way they've gone about doing it. But that was one of the issues that was brought up. And then the other was, again, the color of lighting and how the 4,000 Kelvin color, the white light, emits true color rendering and is a very white light. I know the Dark Sky Association and some others have been concerned about that color of light and thinks you should go down more to an orange, on the oranger scale of the white. And that certainly can be done. You will lose efficiency of the lights and in terms of how energy efficient they are. So the higher the color of lighting, the more energy efficient the fixture is. But 4,000 Kelvin is really what all of the roadway agencies, the roadway, there's a roadway organization that comes up with recommendations for what you should put on roadways, and that's the color that they recommend. And that's the standard color. There are manufacturers that will drive their colors differently, and particularly to achieve higher energy efficiencies, they'll drive more to the 5,000. But you will get a bluer tinge to the light. On the orangier side, you will also lose some efficiency of the fixture as well. And one of the other items that was mentioned was regarding dimmability of the lights. Yes, the fixtures we are installing are dimmable. One DPW commissioner that we discussed that with said, oh great, so I'm going to dim the lights at between midnight and 3 a.m. when it's my highest security issue, and that's when I want the most lighting out there. So there's different opinions on whether or not street lights should be dimmable and whether or not having them be dimmable is a good thing. But the technology today does allow for the fixtures to be dimmable, so if you wanted that feature, it is able to be done. Some municipalities on the West Coast are linking them to Wi-Fi networks so that they can dim them from a remote location, and we have yet to see anybody actually dim any of the fixtures.
I was going to say, my gosh, that's like adding more complication to your workload, you know. And
But what is the village, what are they getting?
they're getting
the same
Same
fixtures.
exact fixtures, yeah.
The color?
The color is 4,000 Kelvin. And
Does that-
one thing I can,
That's the white.
right, that's the white light. One thing I can say is that the city of New Rochelle did an exhaustive analysis of various fixtures that are in the marketplace. And the spec that you're getting is the spec that they laboriously spec'd out of exactly how they wanted these fixtures to function. And believe that they came up with the best solution for the roadway lighting. That happened to also be the same solution that was offered to the city of Yonkers, although they did not spec out the performance specs beyond 1-for-1 streetlight replacements, equal or better illumination, and the energy efficiency that they wanted. The city of New Rochelle actually gave us a spec that we had to meet, and these fixtures meet that spec. And those are the ones being offered to you under a piggyback from that contract.
Good. Good.
So is this the latest in technology? I mean, where does this stand as far as, I mean, LED, right, much better than the old, but is there, I'm just curious, what, you know, because like with electronics, you know, you go from what is it, vinyl to eight track to cassettes to all this stuff.
CDs, back to vinyl.
CDs, now back to vinyl, right? So I'm just curious.
Got to do the cycle.
Is there a cycle here with respect to lighting? I mean, is there a next best thing? I'm just curious.
You've seen an evolution in the LED market in the last 7 to 10 years, where they started, you know, kind of like a cell phone, for example. You started out with the big clunky cell phones, right?
Yeah.
And now you're down to, you know, what we have, the little teeny cell phones that are in our pockets. And now they just continue to refine that technology.
Right.
You've gone from the big clunky phone to the smartphone technology, and now, yes, they'll continue to refine and tweak, but they're really in the refining and tweaking as opposed to the major renovation.
For the LED
so
lighting. Yeah.
you're really getting to the LED lighting that has reached its, you know, here's the best of the best, and now they continue to refine and tweak, but these are a significant evolution from where they were, and the ones you would be getting, yes, are the latest in the marketplace.
Next year, there's no telling.
All right.
They continue to refine the chips.
But
that's
I
right.
think that, I think
They're
that-
finding it difficult to reduce the wattage consumption any further and still provide the level of lighting that you need. So where there's that trade-off, they've reached that fine point. So I don't think you're going to see the evolution in the marketplace continue to make strides that it's made in the last 5 to 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, the useful life on these is supposed to be like 20 years, but there's an 8-year warranty or something like that?
There's a 10-year warranty
10-year
with
warranty.
the fixtures, correct?
Okay.
And the independent rating organizations that test these fixtures say that they should last between 18 and 20 years.
Right, so I remember that, and it seems very odd that an outdoor light is going to last 18 to 20 years. Are those the ones that they test that they rate them 18 to 20 years? Are those done in like, you know, in a dungeon somewhere where nobody's
They
putting
test.
sunlight and rain and trees and wind on them? I mean, how do
They
you get 18 to
test-
20 years out of a light bulb?
They test them in a lab, and they put them through all of the paces. And they burn them for a very long period of time in very extreme conditions, more extreme than they will encounter in a real world. So whereas you know, here we get the highest temperature is 91, 92 in a really bad summer day. They'd put them up at 100 and 700 and 810, and give them extreme conditions to see how well they perform over time. There's a lot
But
less.
there hasn't been any LED light that's been tested for 18 years.
No.
They just guess.
Based on a whole bunch of scientists that work up performance measures, yes. But
On
they are,
everything. On
in-
everything.
Pretty much.
Same
right.
way you do with
They're
cars.
independent of
Yeah,
the manufacturer.
Exactly.
Car, the same thing.
Exactly.
And they're independent of the manufacturers. It's an institute that you have to, all roadway manufacturers have to send their lights to get them approved, so to speak.
But no matter what, if a light goes out in 8 years, we get a freebie?
Yep.
Yep. That's
If the
pretty
light
good.
goes
That's
out,
pretty
in,
good.
if the light goes out in 9 years and 9 months, you get a freebie.
Oh, really?
Is there any
Oh,
New
It's
York,
10-year
already?
warranty.
10 years, right, I see.
is there any New York State laws or regarding the use of LED?
New York State laws regarding the use.
Yeah, the installation, the,
Building codes, you mean?
yeah,
Regulations?
No, just the standard street lighting.
that's it.
Right, the standard street lighting
You're replacing the
specifications.
standard, what we're used to as far as street lighting is concerned.
It's the lighting spread. You know, what to be a roadway fixture, what a roadway light has to emit, and how it has to light the roadway. That's what the standards are surrounding, not regarding the specific fixtures themselves.
I just have one more question. So, with respect to the technology, these are just the fixtures. So you're sort of retrofitting whatever. There's a base, and then a pole, and then a place, and then you're going to put this fixture inside with the pre-existing, right?
No. There's a pole that sticks up out of the street that's in your right of way,
Right.
and there's an arm off of that pole.
Right.
That holds a cobra head at the end.
Yeah.
That whole cobra head comes off,
Right.
and a new cobra head goes on.
But the pole and the arm are the same.
Correct.
So
because
if-
the pole is owned by the utility and the arm is yours.
So, if you had knowing what you know about this technology, is that the best technology and the best height and the best way to install these lights? Or if you started from scratch, is there a better way to install these fixtures? If you had, no pre-existing,
No.
somebody said we're going to install this, what would you do? Would
For
you do the
roadway
same thing?
fixtures, it is the best way to install them. There's been somebody was telling me a story yesterday about how some town supervisor wanted the arms to be at 10 feet. There's a rule in roadway lighting that you don't put the arms between 8 and 10 feet because very tall people can jump and hang from them.
Oh.
Really?
And where there is a will, there is a way. So
very interesting.
you put them
Wow.
the standard pole height is where the arms currently are.
I see.
So and that is where all of the fixtures are designed and how they're developed over time is they're developed to actually add between a certain height, and that's where they're designed to light the roadway from and get the spread so you get consistent roadway lighting on your road.
When we do our audit, we'll just look at our North State Road because we have what they refer to, and I refer to it not as, it is decorative lighting, but it's very high up. So we'll look at that. That would be one exception.
Right.
But it's up that high because it has to get past the electrical. It's on utility poles, so it had to get past the electrical, the telephone, the cable lines, everything that was already on that pole. So.
I was listening when you were saying about the 8 foot, that somebody would
Yeah.
jump up. My grandson is 6'8", and he played.
No, he wouldn't jump up. He would just reach up.
He would reach down.
He played basketball, so I'm sure that he could reach that.
Yeah.
Mm.
So good. Anything else?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Northern?
No, I'm fine.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So thank you very, very much. And
Thank you.
thank you for coming back so many times to see us and,
Oh, you're welcome.
and to participate with us in these conversations. So we're very
Tom,
happy.
Tom, you don't have to leave now. You can stay.
Stay for
rest
more
of the-
fun.
More fun.
But you can leave if you choose.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Heather.
Thank you.
Oh, good.
Yeah, yeah. So our next item is, we just wanted to
Thank you for coming.
update everyone as to where we are with our action plan for the revisions of the comprehensive plan and the supporting laws. We have it on the webpage, both the comprehensive plan revisions and the supporting laws. We are a little bit behind in doing some of the action steps, mostly because most of our consultants and our attorneys are involved in a scoping document right now that will be completed hopefully this week. So we just want to make sure that everybody understands that the action plan for the revisions of the comp plan, and I put one in your envelope, yeah, right? I want everybody to continue to review them. We're going to have meetings, and we'll advertise the meetings, and you're more than welcome to come where we discuss it. but we want to truly move forward on what we have as far as the revisions for the comprehensive plan, remembering that it's a document that we can change again if we need to, and some of the supporting laws that we want to look at too. So please feel free to go to the webpage. And Maddie, it's no longer, I think it's moved off the front page. So now what area is it in now?
If you go to townofaustining.com and then down the left-hand side, there's a bunch of tabs that have the departments. There's one that says projects and then comprehensive plan, and you can find everything there.
And it will have the action plan that we're working off of, and we'll be making revisions this week because we're falling a little tiny bit behind, but we're not going to allow ourselves to. That's why you put an action plan together, so you're constantly reminded not to fall too far behind that. Does anybody have any questions on that?
I love the action plan. I love, it's a nice roadmap, and it really
is.
sets out the timeline and the goals, so
Yeah.
it's really good.
And it really does, and if you go on the webpage, it really does explain the steps that we intend on taking towards this. Okay, so I wanted to briefly talk about that next week we have some public hearings. One is on a cabaret license for the Briarcliff Manor, and the Antipasti di Napoli it's doing business as, that's the name of the restaurant. It's the Old Haymon House. That we want to tell people that they're opened Wednesday through Saturday right now as they get themselves geared up, but they are going to. Please call to confirm, but as of today, they were going to be open for Mother's Day and do a nice buffet, which would be very, very nice if you wanted someplace to go. So we're really looking forward to that being a success. Perry,
Make reservation?
I think you might, but you might not. But I would call them up and confirm that they're going to be actually open because they're in what they call a soft opening. They're getting themselves worked up to the stuff. But I will forward and we'll post on the webpage their phone number so that anyone that wants to call and make reservations there can.
Is it fair to say that they're serving Italian food at that restaurant?
I would think that it probably is.
Okay.
Yeah. The gentleman that is running it now is a restaurateur. He had a few restaurants in White Plains, so he is. So we're looking forward to that leadership coming in.
Right.
And we wish everyone that was part of Haymon House the best for their future and as they move on into another direction.
I was asking because I've had a couple of hints.
You did.
Oh, really? Where are we going for Mother's Day, huh?
I don't think a
Not
hint is
exactly
that yet.
like that, but
Like, how about I'm not cooking?
I got
I'm not cooking on Mother's Day, right?
that'll do it.
Yeah. So the other two public hearings that we're having is on the community choice aggregation, and that is we've already heard the whole explanation twice. It's about different communities getting together to be able to.
Aggravate people.
Buy energy
Yeah,
collectively.
Thank you. He's aggravated. To buy energy collectively, and we are going to have at the public hearing. We don't have to have a public hearing, but we chose to. We're going to have one of the people that can answer all the questions there from the Energize program. That all of the 40 municipalities, I know I was corrected last time, 40 out of 45 municipalities in Westchester County belong to Sustainable Westchester, and we all work together on getting sustainable programs going. And so if everybody reads it, this is on the webpage too, Maddie?
Yep. On the webpage is the PowerPoint presentation, and then also the Community Choice Aggregate one-pager, which is kind of like a cheat sheet about the whole program.
There you go. There you go. So we want you to read it over, and we want to invite everyone that has any questions or anything to come forward, and we'll see what that is. The other public hearing on Tuesday night is the no parking recommendation. It's a local law. This is the big one. It's a local law, and we have had Michael G. O'Connor in 2 times to go over in detail with us. One was at a town hall meeting to go over in detail with us his suggestions for no parking on certain roads. We know that there's approximately 7 changes that he would like to implement. We have heard from some people. As a matter of fact, Council, Michael and I went for a little ride today. We went for a road trip, and we went down and we checked out an area that is a little bit in question as to the residents, but it's a very dangerous place too, so. Yeah.
Challenging, to say the
Yeah,
least.
yeah. So, but we welcome anyone to come and talk at that public hearing. And we also do have the information that people have sent us in emails and stuff, which we will share with the board as part of that public hearing next week. So we encourage you that if you can't come next Tuesday to the courthouse, 88 Spring Street, to please send us an email, sdonnelly@townofaustining.com, with your comments on the no parking recommendations, which again is on the webpage. If you're watching this on television and you do not have access to a webpage, please call us at 762-6001, and we will gladly mail you a copy of anything that, any of these items that we have spoken about tonight. We think it's very important that we have everyone participate, and we look forward to your comments and suggestions. Okay? I did want to bring up one other thing. We are going to executive session, even though it's not on our agenda, but I just wanted to bring up one other thing. We had a couple of folks from the residents from our municipality come in today, and they wanted us to order for people hands off the phone and on the wheel. That it's now 5 points on your license if you're caught talking on a cell phone. Zero tolerance for distracted driving, and this particular magnet, it's a kind of large magnet, was done in Newcastle, and the artist that created this whole thing has given us permission to put Town of Ossining down here at the bottom. And we're going to order some, and we encourage our residents, and we're checking with the police department and the other first responders if they will put them on their vehicles. My car is like plastic, so it my
What is that, for the rear bumper? Or?
no, this is actually it goes on the where you like your green Austin used to went and stuff like that. But the only place I can put a magnet is on my
You can put it on the side.
gas tank.
Gas cap.
Yeah, near my gas tank. So but we encourage people when we get them, we'll put them out and we'll have people distributing them. But again, we want to remind everyone, hands off the phone and on the wheel. And I like the fact that there's a 5 and it's a hand, and there's a 0 tolerance, 0 here, but it almost looks like for Ossining.
Oh,
Ossining Pride, right?
I'll go with that.
I'll make anything work, right? So again, so there's a 5 points now on your license if you're caught talking on the phone. And then 0 tolerance for distracted driving. So please, we just had an accident the other night where someone was hit because of someone was talking on the phone. So be careful. It's very dangerous. And all right, so we'll be ordering them. Is there anything else that you'd like to bring up? How was your concert this evening, sir?
Oh, yes, thank you. It was nice. Unfortunately, I had to miss the first part of the meeting because my son was in a piano recital. So,
Yeah.
but I'm glad to be here.
There are certain priorities in life.
Yes, unfortunately, we can't be at 2 places at the same exact
Right.
time.
And there's a lot of things going on in this community. How about you, sir?
Oh, I'm fine, thanks.
And you, sir?
I'm well.
We had a very lovely, Jeff is part of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Council, and we had a very a lovely dedication of a tree to Henry Atterbury, who has retired from the Parks and Recreation Department. And it's down at the waterfront if you want to see it. And it's a dogwood tree, and we checked whether it could be handled brackish water, because that's what we have down there when it floods and stuff, and yes, it can. And the reason that they wanted a dogwood tree because the little flowers look like sails, like a sailboat. And we all know that Henry sails, which I thought was, I didn't get the dogwood thing for a while until they explained it to me.
Was there some decision regarding the plaque? Was it made?
Yeah, there is going to be
to
a plaque,
Henry's- Henry's father,
Yeah. There is a,
per his
Yeah.
request.
well, we planted the tree. Henry has a bench, and again, we have memorial benches throughout the community, and we have some by the waterfront. And we planted the tree next to Henry's dad's bench. And one of the saying on his bench is, life is uncertain, eat dessert first. which is, I think is a very good saying.
Good.
I do want to express our sympathies to the Ross family. We lost a very, very good friend in the last couple of days. Shannon Ross has passed away. If there's anything about tennis in Ossining, it's all because of Shannon. And she was a great inspiration to all. Many, many programs were started. We got the Lights in Nelson tennis courts from the National Tennis or whatever, the tennis. Yeah.
NTA, National Tennis
Yeah.
Association.
Because of Shannon, and she will be missed. And it was a shock to us all. So she was a good friend for me. So, but other than that, we are going to go into executive session. But before that, we want to wish all the moms, whether you're a natural mom, grandma, or you're a mom in spirit, have a great Mother's Day. And don't forget that Saturday is Stash the Trash.
Oh, yeah.
And Chris Soy, who is our new Recreation and Parks Superintendent, has decided that the hours will be from 8:30 to noon. And so we will be up early, and it kind of is good because it won't be your whole middle of your day. So we hope to see everybody out collecting trash. We've had a very hard winter. So on Saturday is Stash the Trash. On Friday night, some of us are going to Early Elton at the library. So there's a lot of things happening. It's sold out concert though. And then on Sunday, I think we all get to rest and to be with our families, which is good. And so we want to wish everybody a happy Mother's Day. Okay, so have a great day. We're going into executive session for personnel and legal advice. Do I have a...
Oh, do we need to move?
I'm not sure, but let's. You move into...
I move that we go into
That's my phone. Yeah.
session for purpose of discussion of personnel,
And
for
legal,
which we
And legal
will,
and legal advice,
and legal advice for.
which we will not
Sec-
return.
Second.
So have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next Tuesday at 88 Spring Street at the courthouse. And watch for the agenda because we do have 3 public hearings that night. Thank
All
you.
in favor?
Oh, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. One thing you got to say, we have a good time.
What are those dates again?